What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're doing predictions for the 2018 NFL playoff round. We've got some good teams in this playoff this year, and some teams that we didn't expect to make the playoffs, but I love that about the playoffs. I don't like having teams that's been there year after year after year after year, and I'm happy to see teams like Jacksonville and Tennessee and see New Orleans get back in the playoffs, and it's just fun to see, different teams get in the playoffs and see how, well they do in their kind of, their journey to the Super Bowl. So we're going to start off tomorrow. Tomorrow, the Tennessee Titans versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And to me, I'm not very excited about this game because both these teams, I mean, coming into the season, a lot of people thought these teams, were going to be, dynamic teams, plus 10 plus win teams and just on top of their division and stuff like that. And for the most part, they started off that way. Tennessee had a great start. Kansas City had a very great start. Kareem Hunt showing up out of nowhere. With the Kansas City Chiefs first started, by demolishing the New England Patriots in week 1 of the regular season. They had a 5-0 start, and then from there on, I believe they went like 1-6. After the 5-0 start, they went on like a 1-6 run or something like that, somewhere around that range. Losing to teams like the Giants, ridiculous. But anyway, the Tennessee Titans as well. They started off well. In the beginning of the season, beating a team like Seattle, not only just beating a team, just really beating Seattle. Did allow a lot of points from Seattle, but scored a lot of points on Seattle. So, with all that being said, this game could have a lot more potential than it might have, than it's going to show. But it should come down to the wire. Both these teams are kind of similar in my opinion. But I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs to beat the Tennessee Titans. I just think the Kansas City Chiefs, I know they choke in the playoffs. They always, most of their seasons are the same. They start off great. You guys remember back in 2013 where they had a 9-0 run and they finished 11-5, and then they get beat in the wild card round to the Indianapolis Colts. Which they had a huge lead on the Colts, and they allowed the Colts to come back and win that game. So, the Kansas City Chiefs, they do the same thing every year, but I think they get the win this year. I think the Tennessee Titans are a little inexperienced right now, and Marcus Mariota, I really like Marcus Mariota. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league right now, but I'm not confident in him coming into this game. I know Kansas City doesn't have the best defense. I really don't like their secondary, so that may be an advantage for Marcus Mariota, but I just think, that D-line, the linebacking core and the defensive line for Kansas City really picks up the slack for the secondary, and let's see how that offensive line for Tennessee holds up. But I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs to win. If I can give you a score right now, I'll say Kansas City 28-23 over the Tennessee Titans. They move on to the divisional playoff round. We then move on to the next Saturday game. We've got the Atlanta Falcons versus the Los Angeles Rams. This, to me, is my favorite matchup because these are two teams that don't meet up as often, and these are two teams that are very similar with each other. High-powered offenses, very decent defenses, and I can't wait to see what goes down here. Something's got to give here. Is it going to be a high-scoring game or a low-scoring game? Because both these teams have good offenses and defenses, so we'll see how that plays out. And these two teams, I believe I don't know if Los Angeles finished with the top offense this year. Don't know, but I know they finished like top 3. They had to. It must have. And Atlanta finished with the historical top offense last year. So this should be an interesting matchup here. With all that being said, I'm going to flat out say, even though I had in the beginning of the season, I had Atlanta make it to Super Bowl once again. I was just that confident in them, but I'm not as confident in them this year. They really haven't done much of anything in the run game. They just now started going back to Julio Jones. Maybe he's the one that will take over this game. But before that, they were struggling trying to get Julio the ball. They were struggling running the ball as well. And, Aaron Donald in that interior, will he, make his presence known in that run game? stuffing the run and stuff like that? Are they going to make the Atlanta Falcons one-dimensional? We'll see. I'm going to have the Rams beating the Atlanta Falcons, and my score predictions are coming, right off the top of my head right now. So I'll say the Los Angeles Rams win, let's say 27-20. 27-20, I'll have the Los Angeles Rams beating the Atlanta Falcons. We then move on to Sunday. We'll start off in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. And this to me is not my favorite game, but it's the most intriguing game, because both these teams, you guys know Buffalo, this is their first playoff run since 1999. This is their first playoff run in the 2000s era. The 2000s and 2010s, they have not made the playoffs. So we're talking about an 19-year drought. So they're going back to the playoffs after 19 years. So that's crazy to think about, really, 19 years. But anyway, because I'm 20 years old right now, so basically my whole life the Buffalo Bills has not made the playoffs. So anyway, moving on from that, the Buffalo Bills at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and surprisingly enough, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they were my sleeper team to make the playoffs. You guys remember that video you guys all got on me about my AFC sleeper teams, and I had the Jacksonville Jaguars as one of them, even though Blake Bortles, Blake Bortles did not play terrible this season. I know a lot of people are going to get on Blake Bortles. He did have some games where he threw like 3 interceptions. I think the last game he played, week 17 game, he had 3 interceptions. But, I mean, nonetheless, he didn't have a bad season compared to all of his other seasons. He did throw a lot of interceptions again, but it's fine. Blake Bortles got his team to the playoffs. I don't think he led his team. It's definitely his defense, number 1 defense in the league, and just all pros everywhere, all Pro Bowl players everywhere. I mean, that defense is insanely good, and that's going to be the reason why Jacksonville wins this game. I know Buffalo, they made it this far. They made the playoffs. I saw the video of them in the locker room watching the Bengals beat the Ravens on that 4th down play, and it was very heartwarming, and it almost brought tears to my eyes. Kyle Williams had his kids there, and as old as Kyle Williams is, he's finally going to the playoffs, finally gonna check that off in his career, making the playoffs. But I just think they're up against just a bad matchup right now. Jacksonville is just stopping everything. The run, the pass, they're getting sacks. They're called Sacksonville for a reason. Their pass coverage is insane. Jalen Ramsey and AJ Bouye have it's 6 and 5, so they have 11 interceptions, just the 2 of them. So I mean, Tyrod Taylor, I know he's not known for throwing interceptions. He doesn't have much interceptions. He never does. And I know that, but the guy he struggles getting the ball down the field. That's just what it is. He only throws for like 200 yards a game. He focuses, he tries to get the run game going, whether it's LaShawn McCoy, who is a game-time decision in this game. LaShawn McCoy, or he will run the ball, and that's really what he depends on. So it's going to be a struggle. LaShawn McCoy, if he does not play this game, I really don't see the Buffalo Bills moving down the field whatsoever. Kelvin Benjamin is their best bet right now, and yes, he's a throw it up and get it type of player, but he's a great number 1, but who do you have besides him? Zay Jones is okay. Can you really call him a number 2? Andre Holmes, all right, fine. These players, I just, it's going to be a defensive game. That's what I got to tell you right there. It's going to be a defensive game. I believe Blake Bortles in his, playoff debut, he's going to make some mistakes, and that's a given, so we'll see what happens. But I've got Jacksonville right now. They're just too good of a team right now. Buffalo squeaked in the playoffs, and it was a heartwarming story, but it's got to end somewhere, and it will end here at Jacksonville. So moving on to the Carolina Panthers versus the New Orleans Saints. And we just saw this in week 17, and I believe New Orleans swept Carolina. I can't remember, but I believe New Orleans swept Carolina. But anyway, I spent a lot of time, about this game. Cam Newton, he's really good, and he's a really good. He played really good this year, really well this year. I just had some bad grammar there. I just tried to correct myself, but tripped over my own words. But he's played really well this year. He slowed down a little bit at one point, but then he's picking it back up. And in the playoffs, will he get to that, MVP Cam that we seen back in 2015? We'll see, especially against a division rival. So, a team that he knows. Will he get back to that form and try to make another Super Bowl run? We'll see. But, as of right now, I just think the New Orleans Saints are playing just so well right now. I mean, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Drew Brees, Michael Thomas. That defense is picking up Marcus Lattimore, Marshawn Lattimore, who I had as my number one corner, and a lot of people were saying that he had still to develop. He needed time to develop as a number one corner. He is not a shutdown corner. I mean, what do you guys have to say now? And Pro Football Focus rated him as like the best corner in the NFL for like a while. So Marshawn Lattimore is a complete monster, and I knew that watching film at Ohio State. Sure, he has some blemishes, but that's going to happen for every rookie. That guy can ball out. That guy had, how many interceptions does he have this year? 5 as a rookie. I mean, it's ridiculous, including a butt interception, as everyone likes to call it, the butt pick. Marshawn Lattimore is balling out right now, and he was the key. New Orleans, that's all I said. New Orleans, I know they had problems on their D-line, their secondary mostly. Their linebacking core was just terrible. It's still bad right now. And Monte Teo is all right, but he's pretty much their best linebacker right now. Haloi Kikaha making some plays. I think he has like 5 sacks on the year. It's whatever, but they needed a number one corner. You can't come into a game with PJ Williams, Delvin Breaux, and all these other corners, all these other no-name guys coming in as your number one corner week to week. Especially dealing with a lot of injuries. Last year the Saints dealt with these crazy injuries. You got guys like, I think his name is Ben Crawley or something like that, as your number one corner, as your number 2 corner. I mean, that's ridiculous, playing against, teams in the NFC South, with Julio Jones, Kelvin Benjamin at the time, Mike Evans, players like that in your division alone. You can't expect to win games. But now that you've got a number one corner, Marshawn Lattimore, that guy's a complete monster. He could ball. Now you guys are making a playoff run. Now your defense is starting to come on a little bit. You need that number one corner. You need a player that a quarterback is scared to throw to. So definitely Cam Newton should not throw Marshawn Lattimore's way. But with all that being said, I'm going to have the New Orleans Saints winning this game. Let's say it be a little bit tighter, being that they played 3 times this year. They should figure each other out more and more. So I'm gonna have the score being a little tighter, a little less lower score than usual. Let's say let's say an 18-15 victory. Let's say something weird like that. Something weird. So 18-15, I'll have the New Orleans Saints beating the Carolina Panthers. And so if my playoff bracket, if it comes to fruition, the playoff bracket goes like this. The number 4 seed, Kansas City Chiefs, will meet up with the number 1 seed, New England Patriots. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars going to Pittsburgh and facing the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we'll see about that because, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, at the time, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars a couple years back, and it is because, the Pittsburgh Steelers lose those type of games, so that'll be interesting to see that in the divisional playoff round. So then we have the Jacksonville Jaguars going to Pittsburgh, and then in the NFC, we have the Los Angeles Rams going to Minnesota. That should be a great game to watch, another rematch. They played this year already. This will be a rematch. One of the best offenses going against the best defenses. Well, it should be fun to watch once again. And then we have the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers. They lost. They'll go back onto the couch. But the New Orleans Saints going against the Philadelphia Eagles. And this will be a 2013 playoff rematch. Back when Philadelphia finally made the playoffs once again. And they lost to New Orleans. So let's see how that plays out. And with all that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who's moving on in the playoffs? Who's going home? And I'd like to hear your thoughts. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Also, season recaps coming out soon, starting off with the Cleveland Browns. And matter of fact, I'll start off with my team. Even though we got the second pick, it's only right I start off with the New York Giants, move on to the Cleveland Browns, and then we're going in draft order. So I'm gonna try to do all 32 teams. You guys get on me if I get lazy with those season recaps. So I'll see you guys in the next video.